Hi everybody, this is Alan Adams. Today is April 8th of 2017 and this is the second video lecture in the Badge 2 series, Badge 2 Intermediate Level for Microsoft Excel. I've already recorded one lecture, my first lecture, on the use of tables. I'm going to continue that today. This is the worksheet that will be used obviously within the third file for Badge 2. It's the second video lecture, File 3. This is File 4 that I'll post right after it. So that you can refer back to it once you've viewed the video and maybe do some experimentation of your own with the actual worksheet I created. Now, I've made another copy of the table from the last lecture where I showed you how to start one. I went through many of the advantages. I'm going to elaborate on that today. There are other advantages as well. But the first thing I want to show you wasn't really table related at all. I had a question from one student who was doing badge number 1. And wanted me to clarify about the toolbar versus the ribbon. Okay, sometimes I slip, others slip, and we use them interchangeably, okay? But the ribbon, when you see a reference to the ribbon, it's the white area right under the green area at the top of this Excel table. Once again, my cursor sometimes does not appear in this version of Apple's operating system I'm using, so I'll just have to describe it for you. But underneath the green header at the top, all those tools that you see, right now I'm on the Home tab, okay, you see all those little tabs that say Home, Insert Page Layout, Formulas, Data. Okay, right underneath that, each one of those is a tab, basically, and right underneath that is the ribbon for each of those tabs. So if I wanted to get rid of it, way over on the right side of this green bar, see that little smiley face in the upper right corner? I'm just going to go to that little upward pointing arrow right under it to the right of that word share. It says collapse ribbon. I click on it and it disappears. Now my tabs are still there. Okay, you can see home, insert page layout. I like to have the ribbon visible at all times. So I hover on the arrow, which is now turned into a downward pointing arrow, as you'll notice, and I click on it again and it expands the ribbon and puts it back. That is the ribbon, okay, and it contains most of the tools that we use for any one task at a time. And of course, as I change tabs, like to insert or to formulas, the ribbon will change accordingly. Okay? Now you'll remember, I'm going to click on Home again, and you'll remember when I created a table, I'm going to go anywhere into this table of first name, last name, city, state, pay grade, etc. And I click anywhere in there. Now look, another tab just appeared up there. Click outside the table, it goes away. But now watch, it's going to reappear in the green bar when I click in the table. All right, that's going to give us the ability to use some interesting tools that we'll get to later. Okay? All right, very good. So we've talked about the ribbon. One of the advantages of using a table, if you look back at some of the lecturing I did on badge number 1, was an introduction to sorting and filtration, where with filtering you're only going to display cells that contain a certain attribute, and with sorting you put them into a certain order. We did ascending and descending, and you could put them in order on more than one column, argument as they call them, but really it's a column. For example, I can put everybody in order by state, and as a secondary sort, if you'll remember, I could put, then keeping the states intact, everybody in, let's say, ascending or descending alphabetical order by their last name. Okay, so now what does that have to do with tables? Well, that's a quick review of sorting and filtering, but you can do it right within the table in a much quicker fashion. It doesn't have all the elegance of the sort filter feature in the upper right. Okay, but it does give you a little bit of immediacy and flexibility. Now, for example, I'm going to click in last name in this table. The column heading, you notice that little downward pointing arrow. So I'm just going to click on it. And this appears. I can sort, I can filter. Let's do the sorting first. If I want to sort last name in ascending order, in this little last name box that appeared, I'm just going to click on ascending. I don't have to do another thing. Look, everybody rearranged magically into an ascending alphabetical order. Okay? All right, very good. And same with descending if I so chose. Okay. Now let's talk, it's that easy and it's that fast. Now let's talk about the filtration as soon as I put everybody back in order here. Okay. All right. I'm going to call that same. Let's go over to state. Let's go over to state. I'm going to click on that downward pointing arrow right next to the word state. And once again, I'm going to get my sorting and filtration box. Now let's say I only want to see people who are from Massachusetts. Okay? Now I could sort this and put all my states in order and then just go to the Mass section. But no, I just want to eliminate everybody who's not from Massachusetts from the table I'm working on. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say, I'm going to click on select all. That blanks everybody out. And I'm going to come down 2 cells down where it says Mass, MA. I'm going to click on it. And I don't have to do another thing. Look what happens. Everybody from Massachusetts is there. Okay? All right, very good. And I want to put that back, so I'm going to click on it again. And I'm going to say clear filter. And now my data is back to where it was. I could also have used that little backwards arrow up here, undo, where it takes my most recent operations and reverses them. Okay, but it's right within that little sortation and filtration drop-down menu if you wish. Okay, so that's sorting, and that's filtering. Okay, I'm going to click on the table one more time. Now again, my little table tab appears at the top. And I'm going to move down to the bottom of this spreadsheet, this table. Okay, and I'm going to ask you to watch that bottom line right underneath Mr. Leon Redbone, right there, the last person in our table. I'm going to click on the word table, and I want some totals for my numeric columns underneath underneath all of these rows of data. So I'm going to come over here. You see all these little check marks in the table tab. I'm going to click on the one that says total row. Now it has a check mark present in it, and look what happened. A total column appeared. All right, now I'm going to do some totaling. First of all, I'm going to take my salaries, and I'm going to total them. So I place my cursor in the row right underneath my last entry in this salary column. There's a drop-down arrow. I click on it, and I'm going to come down to the choice sum. I want it to give me the sum of all of those salaries. There it is, 2,404,000. I'm going to go to the column right next to it, and I'll total up my FICA as well. There's a drop-down arrow. I click on the down arrow, I click on sum, and there it is. Now let's say I want to know how many people I've got. Okay, I'll come over here to total. Instead of just saying the word total, I'm going to click on count. And it tells me that I have 40 people in total in this table. Okay? Now, lastly, let's come back over here to salary. And let's say I don't want to see my total salaries. Let's say I want to see what my average salary is. So I'm going to click on the drop-down arrow again. And this time, instead of sum, I'm going to highlight average. And this tells me that for all the data in the table, my average salary that I'm paying my individuals is $60,100 a year. So you can see that there are many other handy functions besides just taking a numerical sum of everything in this column. It gives you other functions as well, which I won't get into, at least not now. I will get into that in a separate lecture, probably for badge 2. Okay? All right, very good. So I'm going to turn the totals off by clicking on total row in the ribbon on the table tab. All right. While I'm at it, let's look at some of the other pieces of information that are up here. Okay. Header row, for example, is checked, so if I uncheck it, it disappears. But I want my headers, so I'm going to check it again. Okay. Banded rows. I like banded rows. If you don't like them, turn it off. And you can see that the bands, which are a handy eye reference, a nice visual reference, all disappear. I'm going to put them back. Okay. If you'd like to highlight your first column, click on that. Last column, Okay? If you don't want to see these filter drop-down buttons on all of your column headings, you can turn them off. I like them, so I'm going to turn them back on again. Okay? What else? Did I miss anything? Oh, banded columns. Just as I've got the rows banded, I can do the same thing with my columns if I wish. Okay? Again, I don't like that, so I'm going to turn it off and go back to my default of banded rows. And that is a default, by the way. All right. Very good. In the time that we have remaining, because now, as I mentioned to you in my previous video, I'm trying to keep these videos briefer. I'll post more of them and they will take less time. That gets rid of a file length problem that I have, on top of which it makes it easier for you to watch one of these without having to sit through the whole thing in case you're busy. Okay, what else do I want to do? I'm going to show you one quick thing. In my last lecture, I had a whole range of data, and I turned it into a table for you. That's one of two ways to create tables. Okay, take a whole range of data, and then highlight it, click on Insert Table, and it's going to take all of that information and put it into the table that you see here in front of you. Okay, but I indicated there's another way to create a table as well, and that is to actually just start fresh. And I'm going to create a new table right underneath here. Just a little one, okay? Let's say I wanted to create a table just of first and last name, city, and state. I'm going to highlight 4 columns. I'm going to come up here and click Insert. Hold on, that was the wrong button. Wrong insert. Insert, Table. Okay. It wants me to confirm the data. I'm going to click My Table Has Headers because I want it to have headers. Okay. And there's a brand new table for us. The first thing that I'll do is I'm going to give it some column headings. Last name, first name, and again, I'll just do the same as I did before. I'll use city and state. Okay? I'm going to just indicate a couple of records here. I'll put myself first, right on the top row, in Franklin, Mass. Okay. Now you'll remember if I'm in this last row, I can hit the Tab key and a brand new row appears right underneath. I believe I mentioned that in my last lecture. If not, I just mentioned it now. And I'm going to put the name of the Dean of the School of Business as my second record. Let's put him in Franklin as well. Okay. Now one other way we can add a fresh line of data is I can hover right here in last name, right on top of Dr. Shaw's name. I hit return. Now you might say, well, wait a minute, did my table end? No, it didn't, because if I just start typing a fresh name, it's going to assume I'm adding to the table. And if I had a formula out here, like FICA, it automatically would format for me. And it would have zeros in it because it's awaiting raw data to be put in another cell so it can do the calculation. All right, so I'm just going to come out here and add one more record. Let's put her in Bellingham just for variety. Okay, and we are done. Okay? All right. And just bear with me one second. Okay, I don't want that extra table, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it there for the moment, and when we come back, I'm going to break here, and then in my next miniature video, I'm going to show you how we can select that table. It is an object, and an object can be selected just like a number, just like text, just like a range of cells, and we can do other things with it. So we'll do that when we come back, and for the moment, I'm going to leave you and close this video and wish you a very good day. Take care.